Boy, this is a video that's a long time coming. It's about my favorite band, and that band is the Kinks. So I got to see the Kinks perform live twice. One of them I was a VIP. I got backstage pass. I actually was sitting on the stage watching them perform behind the speaker stacks. This was at Jones Beach Amphitheater, and they had the big speakers, and then behind the speakers was scaffolding, and then up, nobody in the audience could see us, but we were up there, and we got to watch from the sidelines the Kinks. And I also saw them in the round at Westbury Music Fair back when I lived on Long Island. When I was 15, or 16, yeah, just about 16, I picked up a CD at a used CD store, and it was the Kinks Chronicles. And this is the Kinks Chronicles. I have the CD still from when I was 16, yeah. And this is the greatest comp that ever was. It lovingly made by Fan Mendelsohn, who was a writer and a musician. And just the greatest stuff from the greatest period of the band, which is roughly 66 to 70. That's their best period. And this one is basically all that kind of stuff, and then there's also a lot of B-sides. The only way to get that material is on this comp, so that's why this comp is essential. Extensive liner notes on the band. And that's what cemented the band for me. I've got a bootleg that I picked up in Manhattan, back at Revolver Records when that was on 8th Street before it closed. Oh yeah, Reprieve Records. So the sound quality on this is horrible, but it does have a lot of stuff that you can't get anywhere else. I also have some CD bootlegs. So here's the Great Lost Kinks album, which has the Great Lost Kinks album, which I already have, and then a bunch of other stuff, mostly from Dave's aborted solo album. Just like this, Kinks, Lola, and Sophisticated Songs. I think I also picked this up at Revolver Record. See, it's got the Italian little stamp there. For a long time, the only way you can get this material was in Italy. They had weird copyright laws, so as long as everything funneled through Italy, you could get all of this bootleg material. Kinks with Dave Davies, and it's real hard to see that. It's a lot of BBC session stuff. What a cool cover for a bootleg, huh? And yeah. So same thing. I think it says on there, Italy. Meh. Anyway. First album, Kinks, You Really Got Me. I don't need this on vinyl because it's not that great. Other than the title track, it's just a bunch of, covers. Stop Your Sobbing. It's not that great of a song. So not really that important to me. But what a debut album, though. I mean, just hard-edged and loud and brash. And got kind of Kinks here on vinyl. This came from Bo, and this is where they started really cooking up. Great stuff. Great writing by Ray. Who's like early 20s. And Dave is barely 18. King size. Again, great stuff here on this album. So this is kind of a harder edge sound, like the early Rolling Stones. But the writing is pretty solid. And you got Kinks Kinkdom. And this is where the writing starts to get a little more sophisticated, with A Well-Respected Man and Such a Shame. See My Friends, which is the first song to sound like a sitar. It's not. It's actually a detuned 12-string, but Harrison soon cops it for the Rubber Soul album. You can also get it on CD, King Size Kinkdom, so it basically has both albums. Very good sound on that CD. Kinks Controversy. This is a re-release, as you can see, from Spain. I picked it up for $4. Very good, good album. I had an American copy, but I gave it away to somebody who needed it more than me, since I've already had this. And this is such an iconic cover. I wanted this, and I'm not a completist where I need to have every copy of everything. So somebody was in need, so I gave it to them who needed the album. Conversely, I mentioned, I wish I had that album, and Jason over in the UK sent this to me because he can pick them up a lot easier. So Marble Arch is like their version of Harmony. It's a reissue like Pickwick, but usually Pi stuff, and it's a flip back. So this is actually from '65, and combines a lot of stuff from King Size and Kingdom and singles and stuff like that. Wonderful comp, along with Sunny Afternoon. Starts getting slightly psychedelic here, and you see he's got See My Friends and Big Black Smoke, and Dedicated Follower of Fashion. So some of the stuff that's on Kinks Chronicle, some of the stuff that's on the albums, it's kind of a mix mash, and definitely it's really combining EPs that were released in England. Over to Face to Face. This is where the music starts turning and start getting a little more, certainly more British sounding. And this is the stereo copy. The stereo copy is not as bad as people would lead you to believe. It actually sounds pretty good. Mostly the sound effects are in stereo or reverb and stuff like that. And I got the single here of Mr. Pleasant, and This Is Where I Belong, from Peter in the Netherlands. How sweet of him to send all the way from the Netherlands to me, because he knew I was a fan. This copy's jacked up enough where I actually had to put the album in the back because I didn't want to split it any further. Another friend gift, because people know the Kinks are my favorite band. So I got this gift from Dave Mason, DJ Thunder 1970, who has not had time to make videos in a long time. But he bought this reissue that just came out last year. These are also coincidentally made by Sanctuary Records in the Netherlands. These are all Netherlands pressings. So 50th anniversary. This sounds great. This is the mono version. I picked this up on Discogs. I've been hemming and hawing because I had it on CD. Something Else by the Kinks, such a solid album. Almost perfect, but the prices on this were ridiculous. And even the reissues, because it was an import from the Netherlands, it was like $35-40. Could I justify spending that on one album that, you know, I heard a billion times already and I'm not going to keep listening to? But I found on Discogs for $10 or $11. There was a skip on side 2, and it was a new album. So I questioned the seller, and he's like, yeah, it skips on my record player. Maybe you can fix it, maybe you can't. So I said, you know what, I'll give it a chance. It's just one song that skips. Well, actually, it was 3 songs that skipped, and 3 cleanings fixed it. There's no skips at all. It sounds perfect, and a great mono copy. So I have a stereo copy on the Reprise CDs, which sound not great. This sounds much better. An album I did not hesitate once I found out it was being reissued, because originals were going for $50 and I just couldn't afford it, is the album that a lot of you probably know. It's up there with Odyssey and Oracle as one of these lost classics. It is the Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society. So this is not quite a concept album, but all the songs do follow kind of a theme of this back to quaintness of country life, of simpler life, without technology, without changing morals, you know, of the 60s and the swinging 60s. This is anything but, which you can see how unpopular that would have been. When sex, drugs, and rock and roll was taken over, these people were talking about virginity and talking cats and, you know, being nervous in front of friends when you're probably in drag. Can't tell for sure. But this was, again, for a brand new pressing, it is very well. I should really clean that. I was so excited to play it, I actually played it without cleaning. I broke one of my rules. I was able to find a Spanish copy of Arthur. It is not a gatefold, but this is a soundtrack to a movie, and so it's basically a concept album because it follows the story from the movie about the emigrating to Australia after World War II and just plain old life. So it's kind of similar in content, but it's a little darker in themes. And fantastic album. So this is an 80s Spanish PRT pressing. Was released in the 50th anniversary Netherlands pressings from Sanctuary Records. Great album. This album was given to me as VCLT twice. Paul Bubbles 34343434 actually sent me a Spanish copy of it, which I later regifted because I already had a copy. that was given by the great Ned Dustman. Damien sent me this. I had remarked how much this was a grail, and it was, and he sent it. So this is Kinks, Lola versus Power Man and the Money Go Round. A concept album about the music business. It reflects slightly on the story of how screwed over the Kinks were in the music business. They were banned in America, so for years they didn't tour, which is why these albums are kind of hard to get in America anyway. They just weren't popular. They weren't touring here, so. And one of the songs actually lists, the Money Go Round, actually lists the publishing rights deals of You Really Got Me and their earlier music. And you can see how they never got paid for those songs. They were million sellers. They never got a dime for it. He soon had a mental breakdown, Ray Davies, about it, which is chronicled in his book, and actually chronicled in the song, where he says, on the verge of a nervous breakdown, which is referring to the time where he ran naked in the streets to his publisher. True story. Soon, they left Reprise, or they were dropped. Who knows? And this album came out not sanctioned by them. It's basically all leftovers. This is the Great Lost Kinks album. And a lot of it is unused songs from the Village Green Preservation Society. A little rough sounding because it just wasn't produced, for final. It was bottom of the barrel scraping. So think of it like, bonus material. And it was only pressed once. Lou Reed said it's one of his favorite albums. So it's very similar to Village Green Preservation Society. Hard to find. Certainly not hard to find online. You can find anything online. This was VCLT from Robert Z. I had a original Dynaflex copy of it, and when he sent this, I kept his gift, and I sent my original off to somebody who said they never was able to find the album. I wanted them to enjoy it. So I've got a copy of Muswell Hillbillies by the Kinks. This is a Japanese pressing from late 70s. It did not come with it did come with a lyric sheet. So I know a lot of you Japanese record people, fetishists. So this was basically what was written inside the gatefold, along with a kind of a dreary picture. This is much cooler because it's in Japanese, and there we go. On RCA Victor. This album is also similar in tone to Village Green Preservation Society. It's about simple life in England, Not quite country life, but suburban life. For some reason, this album has become just big for whatever reason. It's okay. I much prefer this next album, which nobody has love for, probably because of the horrible cover. Everybody's in showbiz. So this is also a concept album. First album is about life on the road and being in a music band and all the problems that has, which nobody wants to hear about. And then the second disc is a live album, basically them when they finally get to the gig. Great live album. Just great album all around. This has Celluloid Heroes, which was a mild hit and one of Ray Davies' finest achievements. However, Sitting in My Hotel, which is also on this album, is definitely a lost classic from them. Just a tremendous album. Hold on a second. I was thinking that maybe I actually had one or two more albums that were up there, but they're not there. Maybe I sold them. Moving on, I used to have, speaking of selling, the Kinks Preservation Act 1 and Act 2. So by this time, Ray's really getting into theater. So these were kind of theater productions, also on album, but they were very elaborate stage shows, and they are not great at all, to be honest with you. So you got Preservation Act 1 and then Preservation Act 2. Had them both on vinyl, and matter of fact, they were both promo copies. And then when I was in an apartment with my wife and all that kind of stuff. You know, once I got the CD, there was no need to keep the vinyl, so I got rid of them. I regret getting rid of Act 1 because Act 1 is actually very good. Story-wise, not so great. It kind of sets up Act 2, but it is musically, all the songs are really good. Act 2 is a double album and is bogged down by the story. The story was more important than the songs. The songs served the story, not the other way around, which is the way, if you're going to make a concept album, the songs come first, the story comes second, which is why Tommy's kind of a mess by The Who. And so is Quadrophenia. But the songs are great, so you forgive it. This is the other way around. The story all falls together, but the songs suffer because of it. Not successful. If it was a single album, if I could edit down that album to a single album, the songs would all be good, and if I didn't tell you there was a concept, you'd be happy with it. Almost never listened to this because of that. They also had a soundtrack, Percy, by the way, which was about a sexual reassignment. Big thing in 1970 to make a movie about, and certainly make a soundtrack to, but this is extremely hard to get in America because, I mean, it was, I think, a TV movie in England. Mikey, C. Lemons UK, he doesn't make videos anymore, but he said that he laughed at the movie as a kid. And wrong people to write a soundtrack to. The first song is called God's Children, which is also on the Kinks Chronicles, and it's basically denouncing what the movie's about, you know, the changing your body at all, you know, almost like a Christian Scientist, and that's like the first song. But Moments and Dreams are both beautiful songs, and you can usually find those on comps. So anyway, back to the RCA years. Soap opera. This album is despised by people, and they are wrong. It is a fantastic album. The whole album is great, except for one song, Ducks on the Wall, which is a horrible, horrible, horrible song. It's hard to listen to. In the context, it makes sense. But this is a concept album about Norman and the Star Maker. The Star Maker is being a performer. He takes over Norman's life. They swap places so the Star Maker can learn about what it's like to be an ordinary person. And he wakes up in the morning, he goes to work, and he gets tired of that, and he goes to the bar at the end of the day and sees his wife. But at the end, there's a twist. What? There is no Star Maker. It's all Norman. Norman's making up the story to make his life a little more interesting. It's all in his head. There is no Star Maker. Fantastic album. And also, it was a TV production in England and an elaborate stage show as well. Just a great album that you can usually find for nothing. This is where the albums start falling off. So Schoolboys in Disgrace, I do not care for this album. Best Buy series, so it's a reissue. It's kind of the story of Dave Davies. Dave fell in love at a very young age. At least he thought he was in love. 14, 15, she got pregnant. The parents of both kids decided to lie, and they kind of broke them up, and she ended up having the baby. That's what the song Mindless Child of Motherhood is sort of about on the Kinks Chronicles, which kind of advocates having an abortion just so they can stay in love and be together. Complicated, heady, real life stuff there, huh? People say this is their last greatest album. I disagree. I don't think it's that great at all. There's 2 songs on it that I like, but it's got stupid arena rock sound. The Kinks were tired of being a cult novelty act. They wanted to be bigger than that, so they started kind of changing their sound. This fits a slight return to form. It's a pretty good album, and it's got a nice little insert. So this is where they moved over to Arista Records. I know Rob in Boston likes the album quite a bit. I need to revisit it. I remember it being good, but compared to the other albums, which are perfect, less so. And Kinks Sleepwalker, this is it. This is the end of it for me. Got a couple of okay songs on it. Listen, people need to get paid. I get it. Even if they go low budget. So this is where they definitely turn into a rock stadium band. It's not for me. I can see glimmers of the old band a little bit here and there, but it's not for me. I don't even have Give the People What They Want, their most successful album, because I'll never listen to it. I don't even know why I have this. I guess because I got it cheap. Maybe because that's Come Dancing, which is a great song. But yeah, not for me. And this was sealed. And is it still sealed? Yeah, I won't even listen to it. It's a piece of garbage soundtrack. I mean, people say it's actually good. Maybe I should crack it open one day. But yeah, so that is my Kinks collection. I showed it to you without actually being able to talk too much about the music. Which, unless you know this stuff, what did I show you? I just showed you stuff I had. I used to have One for the Road. That was the thing I was looking for. A live album, but I may have gotten rid of it because it had that stupid stadium rock sound. Which, for the Kinks, that's not the Kinks I know and love. That's the Kinks that maybe you know and love, but that's not the one that I know and love. So, my favorite band, Chris. Why you've already gone on 20 minutes? You might as well talk. Well, why are they your favorite band? Well, Ray, as said in the liner notes of the greatest comp ever, the Kinks Chronicles. He never wrote a love song. There's nothing sappy in his lyrics. They are self-effacing, self-deprecating. They deal with real life, middle-class, lower middle-class concerns like heat and food and trying to make your wife happy. Stuff like that. And overbearing mother-in-laws. Those are all topics of Kinks songs. Going to Hawaii and overpaying for souvenirs. That's another one of their songs. Being content at coming home and watching TV. And being excited about a roast on Sunday or getting cake. Normal life things. And very clever lyrics. How clever? The song that you all know and love, Lola. We all know the song's about a transvestite. It's never said that he's a transvestite. And not only that, it's based on a real incident. And the line, let me see, I don't want to mess up the line. I know what I am, and I'm glad I am a man. And so is Lola. So, is Lola glad that I'm a man, or is Lola a man? See, that's a clever line. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff inside the Ray Davies canon. And Dave Davies is no slouch either. Just because he was his little brother, the songs that he wrote were, damn it, just as good. I actually usually like them a lot more. I think they're the crowning achievement of the Kinks catalogs. He just got a short shrift by his brother. Say that 3 times and not say a dirty word. Ray was particularly a bastard to his brother. Dave tried to have a solo career and it didn't pan out. So what did Ray do? He introduced his brother, Dave. Dave wrote a song called Death of a Clown. At every concert, Dave, Death of a Clown Davies, to rub it in his face that you're not going to be anything without me and this band. Dick move. But that's just the way some families are. And, and what a family dynamic story they had also. Dave stabbed Ray when he kept grabbing Dave's french fries. So Dave literally stabbed him in the hand with a fork. Dave got into a fight with the drummer and smashed his head and knocked him out. Stories like that of craziness, of debauchery. That's part of the reason why they were banned in America for many years, which is why they were never the success that they should have been. They should have been as big as the Beatles. Really. They should have been as big as the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. They are virtually unknown except for 2 or 3 songs by most humans especially in America, but even outside of America. Them and the small faces are way underlooked, except for those in the know, like you. And that is my Kinks collection. 25 minutes. Way too long. Way too long. Thank you so much for watching. Do you have any questions about the Kinks? You want to talk more about the Kinks? Comment below. That's where I'm available after the show. Take care, everybody.